Hey, how you doing? My name is Riley and you're listening to the very first episode of my new podcast, Rise Records. This is a podcast where I want to dig deep into the albums that have shaped me as a person and that have quite literally changed my life upon the first listen. So, I figured why not start with the record that I first had a really deep connection with. As of this episode's release, this album is celebrating its 50th anniversary today, on August 25th, 2025. I'm talking about the record that catapulted Bruce Springsteen into the stratosphere upon its release in 1975. The one, the only, Born to Run. Now, Born to Run wasn't just Bruce's third album. It was quite literally his last shot. After the mediocre success of his first two records, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey, and The Wild, The Innocent, and The E Street Shuffle, Columbia Records, Bruce's label, was ready to move on, and Bruce knew it. So he put everything, and I mean everything, he had into this record. During recording, Bruce sought to emulate Phil Spector's wall of sound production, leading to prolonged sessions with the E Street Band, lasting from January 1974 to July 1975. But the magic within this record lies in the lyrics. The record is about people who feel somewhat trapped and fantasize about escaping to a better life via the romantic lyrical imagery of travel. So, without any further ado, let's get into it, song by song, and trace the journey of Born to Run. We start with the opening invitation, Thunder Road. Thunder Road is just the perfect opening scene for this cinematic album. We start off with Bruce's slow-building haunting harmonica, followed by the pure magic of Roy Bittan's piano, and then we hear those first poetic words. The screen door slams, Mary's dress sways, and just like that, we're in the story. The imagery is vivid, romantic, and raw as the sound of the band gradually comes up like a sunrise. Now, this song is a landmark in the progression of my life, and by that I mean the first time I heard the song was in early 2020 when I was just beginning what turned out to be almost a 5-year relationship. And so when I met this person, I had the lyrics of Thunder Road going around in my head, and strangely enough, they fit the narrative and the situation I was in at the time. I was sort of lost with what to do with my life, and I just really wanted some close company. So when Bruce sang, Roy Orbison singing for the lonely, hey, that's me, and I want you only. Don't turn me home again. I just can't face myself alone again. I felt that in my soul. I didn't want to go at life alone, especially at that point when it was time for me to figure everything out for myself, you know. I was away from home and my old high school friends, who we'll circle back to later. It was a journey I wanted to share with someone special. So every time I hear Thunder Road, I'm reminded of that time in my life, and even though the song is a plea for escape from a small town, it's also a plea for company to help ease the pain of leaving behind a version of yourself that's perhaps grown too small. Following Thunder Road, we have 10th Avenue Freeze Out, which is essentially the cornerstone of E Street Band mythology and is where the band literally comes alive. This track essentially tells the story of how the E Street Band came together. It's funky, it's joyful, and most importantly, it introduces us to the big man, Clarence Clemons, whose saxophone becomes a central voice throughout the album. I think it's funny that the phrase 10th Avenue Freeze Out doesn't actually have a clear meaning, and that Bruce himself admits it was more about sound and rhythm than sense at the time of writing. The one thing I love about this song is the groovy horn parts in the introduction. They never fail to get me up and dancing. I'm a guy who doesn't really dance that much. I don't know, it's just not in my DNA. But when I hear these horn parts, I can't stop my legs moving. Fun fact about these actually, during the recording of the album, Bruce was dissatisfied with the horn parts being played by the session musicians he'd hired, and so he asked his friend Stephen Van Zandt to come in and lend a hand. Van Zandt, who was then known for his horn arrangements for Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes, was able to direct the horn players without any sheet music, using just vocalizations to record Bruce's introduction and fulfill his vision. This impressed Bruce, and he realized that he needed Van Zandt as a full-time member, and the rest, as they say, is history. When I listen to 10th Avenue Freeze Out, I actually don't think of Bruce or Clarence or even Stevie. I think of my step-grandfather, Ted Lewis. Ted was a well-known jazz musician in and around our town and often played in clubs, theatres and community events with either his stage band, Clear, or with the small vintage brass band. The reason I think about Ted is because, well, the whole story of 10th Avenue is Bruce meeting Clarence and the impact that had on him, right? So, when I was listening to Springsteen on Broadway, for those of you who might not know, a few years back Bruce did a one-man solo show run on Broadway where he sung his songs and explained the meanings behind them, tying them in with the release of his autobiography at the time. Bruce did a beautiful version of 10th Avenue Freeze in this show in which he explained how Clarence was such a light in his life and how when he passed, losing him was like losing the rain. When I heard that specific description, I couldn't help but think about how Ted had helped me within my own musical journey. So, one day at university in 2020, I used to be a music student, I decided to perform my own version of 10th Avenue with a tribute to Ted placed around about where Bruce had done his for Clarence. And after I finished, my lecturers kind of looked at me all puzzled and were rightly confused as to why I hadn't just written my own tribute song to him instead. But what they didn't understand at the time was that I couldn't find the right music to pay tribute to him the way that I wanted to. I just used what I knew. It's worth noting here that I did end up writing a song for Ted. I called it The Musician's Wine, and I'm very proud of it. Anyway, the big man within 10th Avenue to me will always be Ted, and this song always puts a smile on my face whenever I listen to it. It's just, I guess, groovy magic. So now we move on to what I'm calling the underrated sprint, Night. Night is short, sharp, and fast. It often gets overshadowed when this album is discussed, but if you take a listen again, this song is blue-collar Springsteen at his finest before he'd even begun writing in that style. It's about begrudgingly working all day and needing the night to really feel alive. This one sets the tone for desperation in motion. Bruce sings, and the world is busting at its seams and you're just a prisoner of your dream holding on for your life, 'cause you work all day to blow 'em away in the night. We're not just running anymore. We're flying, because there's no other option. And the wind speed of the band here is absolutely off the chart. The first time I ever heard Night, it caught me off guard because of its very sudden start, driven by Bruce's, I want to say, almost gunfire-like Telecaster introduction, followed by Clarence's booming saxophone right behind. The themes of escape and labor aren't too glamorous here. They're urgent. But at the same time, there's also a theme of longing and searching for some loving company after the tiresome workday, as Bruce sings, and you know she will be waiting there, and you'll find her somehow, you swear, somewhere tonight. You'll run sad and free until all you can see is the night. I had many days where, after work, I just wanted to be with the one that I loved at the time. So this last line always hits home a little bit if I'm in a certain frame of mind upon listening. So now we slow down emotionally and musically as we come to the last song on side 1, Backstreets, a song of lost brotherhood. Backstreets is essentially a heartbreak song, but not necessarily in a romantic way. It's about friendship, or rather, the devastating loss of it. The beautiful piano introduction here by Roy Bittan is the centerpiece, as it creates a sort of emotional gravity that pulls you in when listening. The introductory lines, "One soft infested summer, me and Terry became friends, trying in vain to breathe the fire we was born in, catching rides to the outskirts, tying faith between our teeth, sleeping in that old abandoned beach house, getting wasted in the heat, and hiding on the back streets," set up the brotherly type bond between the narrator and his friend Terry, describing how close they were and how they took on the world. But then, during the bridge, the tide turns and we hear about how Terry left the narrator for what I can only assume was a better life with another friend. Bruce sings, "Blame it on the lies that killed us. Blame it on the truth that ran us down. You can blame it all on me, Terry. It don't matter to me now. When the breakdown hit at midnight, there was nothing left to say. But I hated him, and I hated you when you went away." The screams from Bruce following this last line leading into that killer guitar solo are the most emotional and haunting vocals I have ever heard in my life. I feel like Bruce maybe tapped into a real life experience here and just let it all out. Speaking of real life experience, it's that last line that really connects with me. When I graduated high school and started university, I found myself saying goodbye to the group of friends I'd seen almost every day within the last few years of high school. Most of them were moving away to the big city to study, and life was changing far too quick for my liking. I didn't hate them for going away. I hated the fact that I wasn't going to be able to see them as much as I was used to. I still can't help but think of them whenever I hear Backstreets, and the you Bruce sings about is always, to me, them, and it represents the countless memories we made. Let's flip over now to side 2, and we've arrived at the title track, the rock anthem that is Born to Run. It's probably best described as Phil Spector's Wall of Sound meets Boardwalk Rock. Everything is louder, everything is brighter, and everything is bigger. Lyrically, it's romantic, it's desperate. Just that simple chorus hook, tramps like us, baby, we were born to run, has created an anthem for misfits who dream of something more. The narrator is yearning for the time when him and his partner Wendy can take each other's hand and run into their bright future together, as shown within this line, "Oh, someday, girl, I don't know when, we're gonna get to that place where we really wanna go, and we'll walk in the sun." But what really makes this song timeless is how it feels. This is music as a full-body experience. It's escape portrayed as religion. Bruce spent a whole 6 months on this track because he wanted it to be as close to perfect as it could possibly be. If you listen to some of the outtakes of this song that are scattered all around the internet, Bruce was just adding layers upon layers upon layers of instrumentation to try and emulate that wall of sound production he was after. Early test arrangement takes included strings, more than a dozen guitar tracks, sax, drums, glockenspiel, bass, multiple keyboards, and a variety of voices, including backing vocals and double-tracked lead vocals. One of the fun facts behind the recording of this track is that Stevie Van Zandt once again played a crucial role in shaping the sound you hear. So Bruce initially had the iconic riff bending up to the last note instead of just playing it straight, and Van Zandt pointed out that the sheer amount of reverb in the track already was obscuring the bend, making it sound like a straight-up minor chord instead of the intended major, and suggested fixing the riff to reflect this. Springsteen obliged, and this seemingly small change was big enough to alter Born to Run, and it now had the signature riff that makes it one of the most recognizable rock songs in music today. Also, a special shout out to Clarence's saxophone solo in this song. Oh my god. Not the best saxophone solo on the record, but oh my god. Following Born to Run, we have the absolute rocker that is She's the One. I love this track, I really do. No matter if I'm listening to the studio version or one of the various live versions, especially the one from the Hammersmith Odeon show in '75, it never fails to put such a silly smile on my face, wherever it is I may be when I'm listening. With its Bo Diddley style beat pounding away like a racing heart, it's probably one of the most straightforward rock songs on the album that's driven by the percussive piano organ introduction and the tremendous booming sax, but yet it's laced with heartbreak. Bruce is singing about desire here, but also deception. The woman he sings about isn't real. She's an ideal. It's essentially the classic rock stable of an intensely attractive but cold-hearted woman who causes massive emotional turmoil for her lover. I've been there before. And although the narrator knows the woman is a liar, he wants to believe every word she says, as shown within these lyrics from the second verse. That thunder in your heart at night, when you're kneeling in the dark, it says you're never gonna leave her. But there's this angel in her eyes that tells such desperate lies, and all you want to do is believe her. And tonight you'll try just one more time to leave it all behind and break on through. She can take you, but if she wanna break you, she's gonna find out it ain't so easy to do. No matter where you sleep tonight or how far you run, she's the one. This song reveals that behind all the romantic escape talk, there's regret in the rearview mirror. We've now reached the penultimate song on Born to Run, the noir-esque underrated interlude, Meeting Across the River. This track is, without a doubt, the quietest and loneliest song on the album. It's a short story about a desperate guy trying to pull off one last deal along with his pal Eddie to make ends meet, as they plan on meeting a mysterious man on the other side of the Hudson River by traveling through the Holland Tunnel, which, if you don't know, connects New Jersey and New York. Original pressings of Born to Run billed the song as The Heist, suggesting the man across the river is paying the narrator and Eddie to commit some kind of robbery. So, it's here where we shift from teenage dreamers to adult desperados within the drop of a hat. I mean, it's almost a jazz piece, hence why I use the word noir. It's just piano, bass, and a beautifully played trumpet. No drums, no saxophone, no guitars, and no organ. It's shadowy. It's mysterious. And I guess it's somewhat empty. I always imagined this song would be absolutely incredible if it was performed as a dramatic monologue in a theatre. I think I'd actually love to do that one day. Anyway, the vivid imagery within this song is what really makes it for me. As Bruce is singing, you can picture exactly what is going on between the two characters, especially here when Bruce says, "We gotta stay cool tonight, Eddie, 'cause man, we got ourselves out on that line. And if we blow this one, they ain't gonna be looking for just me this time. And all we gotta do is hold up our end. Here, stuff this in your pocket. It'll look like you're carrying a friend. And remember, just don't smile. Change your shirt, 'cause tonight, we got style." Now, I don't know about you, but when Bruce said, "Stuff this in your pocket, it'll look like you're carrying a friend," I imagined like a sock or something to make it look like a gun, which is what I'm assuming the friend reference is. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the imagery. I can picture what it might be. I kind of want to know if Bruce knew what it was. Well, it's worth noting here too that this track doesn't actually have a proper ending. There's a sense of impending doom and unresolved tension, leaving a feeling of unease and uncertainty about the outcomes betrayed. It sort of fades abruptly, leaving the fate of the characters and the success of their plan ambiguous. This track is the bridge to the final song. It's where desperate hope turns into risk. And with that being said, it's finally time to discuss the cinematic finale, Jungle Land. 9.5 minutes of operatic glory, crime, poetry, and tragedy. Starting off with that graceful piano introduction by Roy Bittan, accompanied by a violin, we meet the Magic Rat, who drives his sleek machine over the Jersey state line and meets up with the barefoot girl, with whom he takes a stab at romance and disappears down Flamingo Lane. The song then portrays some scenes of the city and gang life in which the Rat is involved, with occasional references to the gang's conflict with police as the band instrumentation builds up to full rock and roll. It's West Side Story told with a Fender Telecaster. The instrumental break, especially Clarence's breathtaking, heartbreaking sax solo, is just legendary. I think he tells the whole story with that horn. You can hear the heartbreaking devastation and upbeat hopefulness all in one. He spent 16 hours playing and replaying every single note of that solo in order to satisfy Bruce's attention to perfect detail. The last two verses after Clement's solo describe the death of the Rat and his dream, which guns him down in the tunnels uptown and marks the end of the love between him and the barefoot girl. This song concludes with a description of the final fall of the Rat and the lack of impact his death has on the city and its people. No one watches as the ambulance pulls away, or as the girl shuts out her bedroom light. Outside, the street's on fire in a real death waltz between what's flesh and what's fantasy. Man, the poets down here don't write nothing at all. They just stand back and let it all be. This is Bruce confronting the futility of life in the face of real pain. This quote from his autobiography sums it up all too well, where he says, "At record's end, our lovers from Thunder Road have had their early, hard-won optimism severely tested by the streets of my noir city." So to me, Jungle Land will always be the masterpiece that defines Bruce's songwriting. It's just that good. It's pure magic, and it's absolutely deserving of its title, Cinematic Masterpiece. And so, in closing, Born to Run wasn't just about escaping. It's about why we want to escape. what we hope to find along the way, and what we risk losing. It's cinematic, mythic, and at times vulnerable. It made Bruce Springsteen the voice of working class America, but also the poet of its dreams. If Thunder Road opens the theater curtain, then Jungle Land brings it down in flames. Some might say it's not a perfect album, but in my opinion, it's a necessary one. And so with that being said, it is time to end. Thank you all so very much for listening to the very first episode of Rise Records. This is something that I've wanted to do for a while now. I've really just been looking for a place where I can sit and discuss my favorite records. And I think through podcasting, I've found it. So if you really did enjoy this episode, please consider subscribing. Drop me a follow over on Instagram. The link for that will be probably in the description if you're listening on YouTube, or it'll be on my artist page if you're listening on Spotify or somewhere like that. And let me know if you think Born to Run is a classic album. Do you like it? Do you maybe not like it as much as I do? Please let me know, because I am very keen to hear your opinions. And I really hope that you'll join me again next week as I talk about Tom Petty's Wildflowers album from 1994 and why it was his most personal record. This album means the world to me, and I'll go into more detail as to why that is next week. So, until the needle drops again, I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you next Monday. Thanks again, everyone, and bye for now.